Okay, so have you heard about this whole vibe coding thing? It seems like it's suddenly everywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely been getting a lot of buzz lately.
But like when I first heard the term, I was like, vibe coding? I get it's catchy, but what does that even mean? What does it actually mean for like, someone who wants to build something digital?
Right. Well, at its core, vibe coding is about using AI to kind of take over that really complex, heavy lifting of programming.
Okay, so instead of me needing to, learn how to code, like actually write out the code,
Exactly.
the AI can do that for me.
Yeah, the idea is that the AI actually generates that foundational code,
Yeah.
so you don't have to be, super fluent in Python or JavaScript or whatever.
So I don't have to learn all that stuff. I can basically just tell the AI what I want.
Yeah, you can essentially guide the AI using like plain language descriptions or even like high-level concepts.
Okay, so instead of needing to know the exact, code syntax and all the rules of a specific programming language,
Hmm.
I can just describe what I want the software to do, like in regular English, and the AI will translate that into code.
Exactly. And that's what's so fascinating about this is that it's like a complete flip from how we used to think about software development.
Right, because traditionally, if you wanted to build software, it meant, years of studying, computer science degrees, coding, boot camps, all that stuff.
Yeah, you had to really immerse yourself in that world.
But now we have these AI assistants that can basically understand plain English or even, like you said, high-level outlines, and they turn them into functional software.
It's pretty remarkable.
Hmm.
And, the term vibe coding actually comes from Andrej Karpathy, one of the co-founders of OpenAI.
Oh, wow. So he's the one who came up with that term.
Yeah, and it really is a fitting term because it captures that essence of like conveying feel the intention rather than the specific mechanics.
Right. Like you're setting the vibe and the AI figures out how to actually make it happen.
Exactly. And his vision with this whole concept is that it could empower smaller teams or even individuals.
Wow. So like a single person could potentially build what used to require like a huge development team.
That's the idea. The AI can handle that code generation, the optimization, and that frees up humans to focus on, the bigger picture.
That's a pretty exciting prospect.
Yeah.
So for this deep dive, what we really want to do is explore this whole vibe coding phenomenon
Yeah,
and
definitely.
understand like what it could mean for, anyone listening.
Right, like how could you potentially use this?
Exactly. So whether you're just curious about like the future of software or you're like, hey, maybe I have an idea for an app, this is about understanding like what vibe coding could enable.
Absolutely. And what's really compelling is that this isn't just some, far off future possibility.
Oh, so it's actually happening now.
It's happening right now. There are people already using these techniques to build real software.
Wow. So there are like real world success stories.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. I'd love to hear about some of those.
Okay, so one example that really highlights this is a guy named Chris Tung.
Chris Tung?
Okay, so Chris actually has a background in English literature.
Really? Not computer science or anything?
Nope, English literature.
Yeah.
And using these AI-powered tools, he was able to essentially teach himself enough programming to develop a SaaS product.
So like software as a service is something people could use online?
Exactly. And here's the crazy part. He actually ended up selling that product for a five-figure sum.
Wow. So he built this software without a traditional coding background
Yeah.
and then sold it and made money.
Hmm.
That's incredible.
It's a really powerful example of how vibe coding can bridge that gap between not having that technical background and actually building something successful.
Right. So like, anyone listening, even if you don't have that coding experience, this could be a way for you to, create something valuable.
Yeah, it really democratizes that whole software creation process. And then there's another great example, Lindsay Scott.
Lindsay Scott. Okay.
So Lindsay actually started programming when she was super young, like 12 years old.
Wow, yours.
Yeah, she was making games for her graphing calculator back then.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and she ended up becoming, very proficient in multiple programming languages, completely self-taught.
Wow. So she was kind of like a coding prodigy.
In a way, yeah. And now she's a huge advocate for diversity in tech. And while her journey started before these AI tools were really a thing, her story really embodies that spirit of individuals taking control of their digital destiny.
Right. So like even without the AI assistance, she was able to achieve so much.
Exactly. And now imagine what someone could do with these tools at their disposal.
Yeah, it's like it takes that potential and amplifies it.
Absolutely.
So we've got Chris, who went from English literature to building a successful SaaS product, and Lindsay, who was coding from a young age.
Hmm.
These are some pretty inspiring stories.
Yeah, they really showcase the transformative potential here.
Okay, so we've seen what's possible, but let's get into the how.
Right, like what are the actual tools that are making this all happen?
Yeah, the engines behind this whole vibe coding revelation.
So there are a few key players in the AI-powered coding tool space. One that's really interesting is called Composer.
The composer, okay.
And what Composer does is it takes your ideas expressed in natural language, like, regular English,
Right.
and it translates those ideas into code snippets or even entire functions.
So I could basically describe what I want the software to do, and Composer will write the code for me.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like having a personal coder who understands exactly what you need.
That's incredible. So it's kind of like a translator between your thoughts and the actual code.
It's a very advanced
Yeah.
translator, yeah.
So we've got Composer. What are some of the other tools that are out there?
Another one that's making waves is Superwhisper.
Superwhisper, okay.
And Superwhisper focuses on something that a lot of people find really challenging, debugging.
Debugging, oh man, that could be a nightmare.
Right, it's that process of figuring out why your code isn't working and trying to fix those errors.
Yeah, you get those cryptic error messages and you're like, what does this even mean?
Exactly, and that's where Superwhisper comes in. It can analyze those error messages, understand what's going wrong, and then it can even suggest or automatically implement fixes.
Wow. So it's like having an AI debugging expert right there with you.
Yeah, exactly. And especially for someone who's new to coding this,
Mm-hmm.
can be a huge help.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because debugging can be so time-consuming and frustrating.
Absolutely.
And then there's another tool called Cursor, right?
Yes, Cursor is interesting because it takes this whole concept of making coding more accessible, and it incorporates voice commands.
Voice commands, so I could actually code by speaking.
That's the idea, yeah.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right. But it makes sense because if you think about it, speaking is a much more natural way of communicating than typing.
Yeah, it could definitely lower the barrier to entry.
Exactly.
So we've got Composer to generate the code Superwhisper to help us debug, and then Cursor to even code hands-free.
It's pretty amazing how these tools are coming together.
Yeah, it's like they're collaborating with us in that coding process.
Precisely. And another really cool aspect of this whole vibe coding trend is the community that's forming around it.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some of that online. It seems like there's a lot of excitement building.
Yeah, there's a real sense of community.
Yeah.
People are sharing their projects, their experiences with the tools, and they're learning from each other.
And I think I even saw a specific subreddit for this, like, vibe coding or something.
Yeah, that's a really active subreddit. People are showcasing their creations, they're having discussions about the tools, and they're even organizing like hackathons and competitions.
Wow, so it's like a whole ecosystem is springing up around this.
It is, and that's what's so valuable about it. You have this built-in support network. People are helping each other out, they're sharing their insights, and that accelerates everyone's learning.
Yeah, it's like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
Okay, so this all sounds amazing, but I have to ask, are there any downsides or challenges to this whole vibe coding thing that we should be aware of?
That's a great question. And it's important to be realistic. While the opportunities are huge, there are definitely some things to consider.
Okay, so what are some of the potential downsides?
Well, one area that people are talking about is code quality and security.
So like the code that the AI generates might not always be the best?
Yeah, it might not always be the most efficient, or it might have some vulnerabilities.
So it's not just a case of letting the AI handle everything and assuming it's going to be perfect.
Right. There's still a need for human oversight. You have to review the code, make sure it's solid.
So we can't just completely hand over the reins.
Exactly. And that leads to another potential challenge, which is becoming overly reliant on the AI without understanding the fundamentals of programming.
So if you're just blindly using the AI without having any knowledge of how coding actually works,
You might run into problems down the line.
right, like if you need to make changes to the code or if the AI hits a roadblock.
Yeah, it's important to have at least a basic understanding of the underlying concepts.
So it's not about replacing human programmers. It's more about giving them a powerful new tool.
Exactly. It's about augmenting our abilities.
Okay, so those are some important things to keep in mind as we explore this. But overall, it seems like the future of vibe coding is pretty bright.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Where do you see this technology going in the next few years?
Well, I think we're going to see these AI tools become even more sophisticated. They're going to get better at understanding our intentions and generating even more high-quality code.
So it's going to be even easier for people to build software.
Yeah, exactly. And we might even see the emergence of more specialized AI tools that are tailored to specific industries or types of development.
Wow, so like an AI tool that's specifically designed for building games or for creating mobile apps.
Yeah, something like that. And what's really exciting is what this means for anyone who's ever thought about, creating something digital.
Right, like if you have an idea for an app but you don't know how to code, this could be your chance.
Exactly. Vibe coding could be that pathway into the tech world without needing years of formal education.
And for those who are already experienced programmers, how do you see this impacting their work?
I think it's going to lead to huge gains in productivity. They'll be able to automate those tedious, repetitive tasks.
So they can focus on the more creative and challenging aspects of software development.
Precisely. It's about empowering them to do even more.
So to wrap things up, it seems like vibe coding is a pretty significant development. It's merging human creativity with the power of AI.
Yeah, it's opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
And it's making coding more accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. And by embracing this approach, individuals and teams can really start to bring their digital ideas to life.
And who knows, maybe it'll even inspire some completely new innovations that we haven't even thought of yet.
That's the beauty of it, yeah.
So as a final thought for everyone listening, what's a problem that you've been thinking about that you could potentially solve using technology?
Or maybe there's a creative project that you've had in the back of your mind.
With vibe coding, those ideas could become a reality, even if you don't have a traditional coding background.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about as we move into this new era of AI-powered software development.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into vibe coding.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely.